kuja hapa umetoka wapi? Unaenda wapi? Saini saa ngapi? Kwa nini na kivipi? Hebu eleza mara moja, kuja who is your mother? Kuja hapa.
Officer, mimi ni mtu wa chemist, naenda nyumbani. Hata niko na barua ya essential services.
Ati chemist?
Si unajua serikali ilisema si tuko na ruhusa ya kuchelewa kidogo.
Ati serikali ilisema aje? Wewe unasemeanga serikali? Wewe ndio government spokesman. Makosa ya kwanza, impersonation of the government spokesman.
Officer, hata wewe unajua hii curfew imewekwa kupunguza maambukizi, si kudhulumu wananchi.
Imewekwa kudhulumu polisi, si ndio?
Hapana, polisi ndio wanaitumia vibaya.
Sasa unanisomea? Yaani umeacha kusemea serikali, sasa unasomea serikali. You are reading to the government. Hiyo ndio makosa ya ngapi?
Si hivyo officer. Alafu, kwanza wewe mbona hujavaa mask? Si unajua hata nyinyi maafisa wa polisi mnajiweka at risk ya kuambukizwa COVID, Kwa nini humvai mask?
Sasa unauliza serikali maswali tena. You are interrogating the government. Makosa ya ngapi? 3. Tuache mambo mingi kijana. Kwanza nyinyi mmepewa pesa ya COVID allowance. Sisi hata hatujapewa, hata roadblock zilifunguliwa. Cheza kama wewe.
Ati nini?
Leta ile unaleta kijana na uende kule unaendanga.
Sina pesa officer.
Boss, unaongeza makosa chia ingine. Unajua sisi ni nani bana? I can take you to quarantine anytime bila makosa yote. I can take you anywhere I want. Saizi hakuna katiba, tumesuspend everything. Unajua sisi ni nani? We have powers. Sisi ndio Kenya please.
Unajua kutembea bila pesa ni murder case. Unataka kuwa serikali na njaa?
Hebu Thomas nikuone kinyangarika hii.
Utasema hiyo mambo yote mbele. Kuja haraka, tembea. Kanyaga kubwa
twende. Alafu ofisa unajua ufai kunikaribia hivi na hata una mask. Unajuaje kama niko na COVID?
Unaishiki witi kwa mimi, twende wewe.
Ai, kwani mtu yuko na corona? Unataka kuwa mimi na corona? Toka hapa shetani wewe, manslaughter wewe, attempted murder COVID-19.
Greetings and welcome to another edition of Between the Lines. I'm your host, Wanjiku, and today we conclude a week where we have been celebrating the youth of this great republic, youth in agriculture, youth in business, youth in construction. And what a better way to wrap up the week by looking at youth and their role in keeping the government in check. And who else better to help us in discussing this than Wanjiku Kihika? Welcome to the show. Wanjiku Kihika is the director and founder of Tribeless Youth, and she will be helping us discuss how are the youth helping in addressing issues of governance, and how better can they be involved in the accountability of their nation. Keep tweeting, keep sending your discussions, keep sending your questions using the hashtag Between the Lines on all our platforms on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. The show is Between the Lines. Shiko, karibu sana. And thank you for finding time to even come here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, we just start right at the beginning. Who is
Shiko is a young woman from Nakuru County who is passionate about her vote and her taxes. Yeah.
And that's, so the vote, the passion of the vote and the taxes led you to where you are today.
Yeah.
And you will be helping us discuss the journey that you have gone through in your work or as a social activist.
Yeah.
So tell us about Tribeless Youth.
So Tribeless Youth is it's a university, really. It's an organization that is run by the youth, for the youth, and works with the youth to make sure we keep our government accountable. We use a lot of art to create satire and basically just highlight issues that are happening in the government, and basically how can young people play a role in literally keeping the government accountable. So we try to use art to basically bring out the actual feeling of the people on the ground and what the youth are actually doing.
And has art been working for you?
Yes, it does. It does magic. Trust you me, it does. It does.
And
magic.
what kinds of art are we talking
So
about?
we use puppetry. We are all round, but we major on puppetry, animation, cartoons, and also the aspect of infographics and writing on the power of digital platforms to do this. We do a lot of poetry. We are lovers of poetry. So yeah, that is basically it. Yeah.
Impressive. Now, the thinking behind the name Tribeless. Why Tribeless?
Why Tribeless? I think this is something everybody asks. Why the disclaimer? We are not telling you to denounce your tribe. Why Tribeless is we feel like the youth of today don't really care much about their tribe until it gets to election, you know. The youth of today is a tribe by themselves. They're the most marginalized, and I'm told it's not marginalized but excluded. So they're nowhere on the table, but they're the majority. And they write on the numbers to get their votes, but they never include them in anything. So for us, it's all like this is a tribe by its own. And what if this tribe had a voice? What if this tribe would sit down and say, you know what, we have the power to determine who we vote for and how this works for us. Because at the end of it all, the majority are the majority taxpayers. So we have the money, we have the numbers.
And yet, having the numbers has not been working so well for the youth.
It doesn't work so well because the political class has mastered the art of keeping the youth vulnerable, poor, so that they can wait until they are back to give us 50 shillings and 200 shillings so that we vote for them. And I think this is where we go wrong politically, where we have politics. And I'll give a good example of Nakuru County. Nakuru County politics is politics of tumchague ende akajibaie shati, you know. And then you forget that you're paying this person to serve you. So instead they go start buying themselves shirts and remarrying and, building, and others start unblocking sewers. And you're like, yo, I did not elect you to do that, you know. So it's unfortunate that we've never realized the power of our vote. It's unfortunate that we've never realized why we vote in the first place. So it's also unfortunate that our election period is considered an idiot's festival where we all want to go out and vote, but we don't know why we are voting and we don't know who we are voting in the first place. And then we complain for the next 5 years and wait till we do the same mistake.
And actually that has been, you read this on social media and even discussions among the youth, and they will say that I'm not going to vote.
Mhm.
Why should I vote, and yet my vote will have no impact?
Because we don't know why we vote. You see, it's I see people saying I'm not going to vote, but unfortunately on the actual day they actually go and vote. And they don't vote because they know why they are voting. They vote because it's a process that all of us have been conditioned into doing. We are like slaves, you know. Like we are controlled by our politics. We are controlled by the key people or the key tribes that we've set in power to just tell us what to do. It's unfortunate that even right now, a good scenario, we are talking about going for a referendum. Yet people have never read a constitution that is now 10 years old. So you're telling the same people, you guys need to vote for BBI, it's going to work for you. How can despots who don't understand how to implement a constitution tell you that they're going to give you a better idea on how the constitution can work for the people? So I think this is something that is weird and unfortunate for all of us.
And I think we'll be looking at that shortly about the whole discussion about the constitution. We're actually 16 days away from celebrating 10 years.
10 years down, and first year we've not implemented even quarter of the constitution.
And I will be looking at that shortly. Now, are the youth doing enough to keep the government accountable?
No, we are not. There's a lot that can be done. There's a lot that needs to be done. You cannot tell me 75.1% of this nation have done enough while we still see people stealing money meant for COVID-19? No, we've not done anything. We are complaining a lot, we are talking a lot, we rant a lot. I am glad that people are talking actually. But how can we go a step further and act? Can we now start uprooting these stones that have decided we will sit here and start looting? Because when money is being stolen and we cannot keep the government accountable, we cannot question why my money has been stolen, then this means we are yet to get there. We are yet to understand what this money means to us. I think we are so conditioned to the fact that people talk about billions and we've never seen billions and we don't know how much this is. So we just say it's 100 billion stolen and we are good to go.
And how you've mentioned something, and I would want you maybe to help us understand. You've said that it's high time that we, the youth, take a stand in terms of governance, leadership of our country. And I'm trying to think about it. You've said that we have been talking, we have been ranting. You yourself,
I am a ranter. I am a certified ranter.
so and we'll be looking at some of your posts that have really caught our attention. Now, your words, we need to uproot these
rocks
and stones.
Yeah.
How do we do it as youths?
One, through the ballots. We seriously need a ballot. A ballot revolution. Karanjo, you didn't hear that. A ballot revolution. We also critically need to rethink about our judiciary system. Because if today we want to impeach someone, it takes too much and too much resources that I don't think the youth of today have. So can we start living by the word of the Constitution? The same way we act like we live by the Bible. Can we adapt the Constitution in the same manner? Can we say, I voted this MCA 3 years ago, there's nothing they're doing. The much I've seen is them hiring goons to do ABCD, is them unblocking sewers, or is them doing ABCD. If I look clearly in my Constitution, this is not the role of an MCA. So we have the power, again given by the same Constitution, to recall these people. But do we do that? No, we don't.
We don't. Yesterday's Wanjiku Kihika, she says it as she thinks it. And she's helping us discuss how the youth can be important and vital in keeping the government in check through the reliable checks and balances. Something you've mentioned about the judiciary. And we have so many youths who are pursuing law. We have so many youths that are going into actually in the practice of law. Do you think that these youths who actually practice in law can help us or can help the youth in that field of the judiciary? Or what do we need to do to these lawyers that actually...
I don't think the problem is the people. The problem is the system. And I'll give you a very good example. Karanja, you have a sewer burst here. And then you start pumping in clean water. What do you expect on the other tunnel? You expect sewer, not clean water, right? So you can pump in as many clean people as you want, but as long as they're getting into a rotten system, we'll still get rotten products. So the same thing we do. We say, we want youth in parliament, we want youth in county assemblies, but they go and find a system that works this way. If you go against us, we uproot you. So the theme of the day is steal from the people until they're vulnerable enough to vote for you again. So the same thing is happening in our judiciary. The system from up there is rotten. The system is controlled by the political class. And then you bring in very naive young people who are just looking for money, who are coming in to just basically get their basic needs sorted. We live in a country where everything is taxed. So they just need to get that money to pay their rent and food and survive. And then they come in and then they realize, I can actually work with a certain politician and be getting these deals. That is exactly what they will do. That I can go representing a client, but the next client comes with more money and I decide, I'm not representing you anymore. So and I think this is where we say thank you to the pro bono lawyers that we have, because those people do a lot of work for free, But I am seated at a point where I think we need to work on our systems. from the executive all the way to the legislative. Let us work on them. Let us make sure that we have clean systems. So by the time we're getting our people into these systems, they're getting into systems that know what accountability is. But you cannot be preaching accountability, yet you're working with systems that don't understand what this term even means. So I think it's a two-way thing. It's a responsibility of the people, but it's also a responsibility of the people that we've given the mandate to do it.
Drain the clam, clean the system is what she tells us. We'll take a small breather. We'll be right back.
Bwana Waziri,
No.
we are here to establish how your ministry has spent money that was meant to fight COVID-19. And to get something clear,
Yes.
going by your chart, I can see here you wrote 20 billion that went to buy biscuits. And for PPEs, I can see you spent 0.5 what?
I think hapa kuna computer error. This is a computer error. The decimal place is not supposed to be there.
Hey, budget, haiko complete. Where did 5 billion go?
You know, these budgets are normally done by my juniors. Then they hand them over to me.
Bwana Waziri, where did the money go? 5 billion.
5 billion, 5 billion. Well, that went to curfew.
Curfew?
Yes.
What do you mean curfew?
You know, time is money. Sasa, the more people stay indoors, the more the money reduces automatically.
Bwana Waziri, what about 5 million that you got from WHO and LACMA?
LACMA. I don't know about that. My juniors didn't tell me anything like that. Anyway, let me make a phone call. Halo? Ebu nikuulize, kuna kitu yote tulipata kutoka kwa jamaa anaitwa LACMA?
And by the way, Mr. Waziri, did you receive any money from Mr. Jack Bauer Foundation?
Jack who?
We wired the money sometimes last month. Jack Bauer Foundation.
Yes, I mean no. Sasa hii maneno imetokea wapi? Nani aliwaambia? Si nilifikiria ilikuwa.
You reckon you can remember?
No. Yes, hapana.
Welcome back. The show is Between the Lines, and we're wrapping up a week where we've been celebrating the youths of this republic, youths that are doing something commendable to try and make their lives better. Today we are discussing youths in governance and how they can be important in keeping the government accountable. I want to just to view some comments we're getting from our social media platforms. We have Edward Kinyung who is watching. Thank you. Honorable Jo Sanyiso is also watching. She's an MCA here in Nakuru. Maybe they will ask you questions. Peter Pinches, MC Vikings, and so many of them. While we were taking the break, there was a caricature that we were watching about Wapi Hela, and those are some of the caricatures that you are watching, that your organization is using in propagating the need for accountability in governance. Please tell us something about it.
So, Karanja, as I started by saying, is we love art. And I think art speaks to the heart. There is a thing with art that beats, or rather slaps different, more than normal conversations. Art sparks these conversations, and art makes you think and rethink about something. So the reason for these arts, the main objective for them was to spark conversations. And I'm glad they actually did. I've seen so many people sharing them. And this is not to fight anyone. I know that is the thought that is out here. But this is to just remind people that the money being spent is my money. It's my taxes. No matter how small it is. You might not be in a category where you file returns in terms of your pay. I asked somewhere, they told me they file 0. It's okay. But remember, even when you buy bread, there's VAT, and 16% of your money remains with the government. So this is your money, and how else can we have a conversation about it if not by having do you know the way you say, like, it's entertaining, but at the same time it reflects our problems? So I think this is the approach that Tribeless Youth took, and I think you'll see more of it. It's something that I feel like is the beginning of change. Yeah. And
I remember before we took the break, you were saying something that it is up to us, the youths, to decide that it's time we clean the system.
Yes.
We do away with these homes. But at the same time, I'm thinking about it. The major funding, and I remember there was an article that was did by one of the local dailies about the faces behind the people we see on television and we hear on radio and read about them on newspapers. It's not the mheshimiwa who does it. It is people behind them. Now, as a youth, I'm looking at myself, I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at other youths out here that may not have those deep pockets to influence maybe a voting system or something. How do we deal with that?
But Karanja, remember we had a guy from Meru who walked door to door with a torn sweater, convincing people why he needed to be MCA so that he can change the status, or rather the state of living for the people of Meru. He was elected. So it's about coming back to the people. I remember an MCA in Nakuru East, who went knocking on doors with a half a bar soap and half kg of sugar. And so many people overwhelmingly voted for him. And I think, with as much as we want to talk about deep pockets, money is nothing without people and without numbers. So we also need to make our stand. We also need to get to a point where we decide what we want as a people. Because as a country, I don't think we know what we want. Because when people sit down in a boardroom, take coffee and shake hands and assume Kenya is peaceful, we need to raise questions about that. Because when did we involve Kenyans? I did not see anywhere Raila and Uhuru coming to fight. I saw Kenyans fight amongst themselves. So did we have a sitting as a country and reconcile?
But the discussion has been that the handshake helped cool down the temperatures, because the proponents, the fans or fanatics of the following of these two individuals were now like, our bosses have chilled, we can also chill.
But the question is, for how long? How sustainable is that? And then the other question is, who told you calm people are peaceful?
Calm people are not peaceful.
You can be calm, but violent, silently violent, waiting for that trigger to explode. And you can become unpeaceful. So where are we as a country? We're not peaceful. Our mental health is in shambles. Our day-to-day lives is messed up. We're not even close to meeting peace anywhere. So we need to approach this in a manner that we want to realize, because this happened. We had the first handshake during Kibaki. But didn't we find ourselves in the same circle during Raila and Uhuru? So for how long will this calmness be? And we say we are calm, but we've seen in some areas, in Mau and Ndeye and other areas, people are fighting. So how calm is this nation? So why didn't this handshake then solve the problems of the people of Mau and people of Ndeye? So if it's a genuine handshake, let it be a people's handshake, not a political or family friends kind of handshake.
And maybe it's right now we cannot speak about a literal handshake because of COVID. Maybe a fist bump.
But I've seen people handshaking all over. I actually cannot understand Kenyans anyway. But I see where you're coming from. And another question is, we know we've been amidst we've been in between a pandemic and a political crisis for the longest time. But we see the same politicians who tell us, stay at home, stay safe, wash your hands, all over with no masks. And I'm like, Kwani this COVID has a class, or it does not affect those with taxpayers' money, it only affects the taxpayers. It doesn't really make sense. And I wish we can actually handle this practically. We have handled a disease like a military war, where it's about Kagwe standing there and giving you orders and telling you how you need to stay at home and how you need to do what. Can we speak to people like mature people? Can we deal with a disease like a disease? Can we stop militarizing everything? And
we will invite you for another day to discuss about that. Let's go back to the youths. Youths, those that are in leadership. You've given a good example about several leaders that were elected on the basis that they were humble. How long did that humility last?
Oh, Jesus Christ. It did not last a year. And then we started seeing some people with news of being, I'm sorry to say, but rapists and everything else. But this is what happens. We do not have political leaders. Or rather, we do not have elected leaders, if I can say that. We have politicians who are there to just expand their pockets. It's nothing about the people. It has never been about the people. That is why you see an MCA, the first 2 months, amechaguliwa, he's everywhere telling people thank you. And then after that, you'll never see him. And if you dare see him, he will insult you.
And now, now that you've mentioned, this one has actually been coming during our trips as a station to different places that we've gone to. And we've had especially youth leaders, those that were elected on that mantra, on that platform that we are youth. The voices or the remarks that are being made about them down at the mashinani level, they're not the same. Do you think now this becomes an impediment to we as youths? Because we came at one time and we said, I am a youth, I have your matters at heart, then you elected me, then when I got to office, I'm not the same person. Does this affect us going ahead?
It has always affected us. But do we elect people because of what they say or what they do? We have a tendency of electing people by what they say and what they give us. So if you don't have money, they won't listen to you. Even right now, if you stand today and tell your people you're following on Facebook, I'm buying, what they will ask you is, Ukonado. And I think this narrative of you have to have money to buy, we all know it doesn't work. Because if you elected me because of the amount of money I gave you, then that means I'll be going in there to bring back my money. So it also means then I don't have time for you and I don't have time to know what your needs are. Even the way our public participation is handled, we can all tell it's a mere show. It's not for the people. It does not represent the needs of the people. Can we start having and advocating for genuine public participation? Can the youth now stand up? As I know, the theme for this year is meaningful engagement here. So can we demand for it? Can we start being engaged to a point where our participation feels like it feels our presence, it feels our needs, it addresses our problems. But what we do is a show where we bring in people. We have high numbers of goons who are paid by different politicians to come in and shout at every reading, and then done. We've politically participated. And then what's next? So we need to start thinking as a youth again. We need to think of how we meaningfully engage in terms of this is the problem we are going through. Can we sit down as a group and develop a document addressing this? Then how do we present it to the relevant authorities? And if they do not pick it up, how can we follow up? We have amazing platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and other platforms. You can always use that as your backup. You can always say, we presented this to the governor of Nakuru County and these issues have not been addressed. We followed up with this and this to the county assembly and still these issues have not been addressed. So we are now seeking help from the people and mobilizing the people to now go and sit down there and wait for them to address our issues.
And we'll be coming to that shortly. Let me just view some comments from our platforms. We have V. Gimb who is watching, Lillian Amwanda, the curator. Hyrax Museum is also following the discussion. Patrick says, watching from the CBD, personally, I love the idea of using art to pass subtle messages about the need for accountability in Kenya. So haya, Shiko Kihika. Mbunge aliyeparara, come people are the most violent. Sylvia Omoyo says that truth always come before a storm. Then another comment is that Corona knows its limits. It can't touch the president with all those GSU protecting him. Keep sending in your comments. We're having a very good discussion here with Wanjiku Kihika, who is the director, founder of Tribeless Youth, an organization that works to ensure that the people of this great republic are empowered enough. Now let's talk about these other spaces where the youth can have their voices heard, because we are around 2 years away from elections. So and we'll be discussing that shortly. Now 2 years is not quite it is a lot of time.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Politically, it's not. That's like 2 weeks.
But it's 2 calendars. Okay, so
that's why some people started politicking 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Good for them. Now, 2 years from now, now we'll be heading into elections. And between now and then, and you've asked the youths out here who are listening to exercise their vote in trying to ensure that their voices are heard. Now, before we get to the voting place, to the voting booths, what else can the youths do to ensure that their voices and their ideas are heard?
Organize and mobilize. And be disciplined, like Miguna says. It's really it's an issue of organizing ourselves. It's an issue of mobilizing ourselves. It's an issue again of being disciplined in what we're fighting for, because we need to structure ourselves and also understanding. We have a tendency of reading and not understanding. It's different. It's very different to read, and it's very different to read and understand. We need to understand where. We need to first understand our rights. We need to first understand our responsibilities and our roles, and then we need to organize ourselves and mobilize ourselves for a cause.
So we need to read, understand. It's one thing to read. It's another thing to read and understand. And then now to actually now make an action to it, because you see, even when we were told to clean hands and we read it and we saw it on television.
A friend of mine said that Uhuru went to China to take loan and he was told to wash his hands. And then he came and told us to wash our hands as we wait for meals from China. We are still washing them. So it's it's weird how we're just being told to wash your hands. Like you're telling someone who is hungry to keep washing their hands, and then what are they eating after that? So it's funny.
And I will be coming to look at what your organization is doing, especially in this pandemic area. Let me sample another comment. We have a lot of another comment is that youth leaders are the most useless.
No, they're not useless. We do not have youth leaders. Please, let us get that one correctly. We have youth politicians who've been held hands by thugs politicians. So they need to pay back. So they are busy paying back, trust you me. Maybe they will work in the next 5 years if we elect them. But they're not useless. They are useful to the people who put them in those positions.
So we're having a very good discussion here with Shiko Kihika about what the youths can do in helping to ensure the government remains in check. We'll take another small breather. We'll be right back.
nataka kuwapea story ya vile COVID-19 ilinitembelea. Nilikuwa tu home, nimechill nikiwatch ka TV kangu, kidogo kidogo breaking news. Orezo anadai eti corona iko Kenya. The first case imekuwa confirmed. Alafu akaendelea hapo hivyo na mikakati tu kali za kujaribu kuzuia spread ya the virus, akaweka lockdown measures, watu wakae nyumbani na akapiga curfew ya usiku that watu wasikue nje. Kushtukia, nasikia mlango. Sema kupanic kuona coronavirus imejikaribisha. Wacha uoga inichape. Huyo mimi, mask na sanitizer very fast. Juu ndio njia recommended ya kutandika COVID-19 isikuweze. Juu clearly huko ilikuwa inapanga kukaa. Halafu nika make sure nimeweka 1.5 meters katikati yetu at all times. Wataalamu wameita social distancing. Ndio hiyo April ikafika. COVID-19 iko area tu, imesambaa tu kila mahali yani. Despite hizo measures zilikuwa zimewekwa. Matao ziko kwa maboda kwanza, ndizo zilikuwa zimewezwa kiasi yake. Mei kaingia, niko hapo tu kwa nyumba nimeboeka, but sina otherwise. Ni kusanitize tu, social distance na kukaa kwa hao. Sema tu kilo kuanza kuongezeka. Haikuwa inanijaza hata kidogo. Vile June ilikuwa inaingia, economy ilikuwa imeanza kupigika kichapo haileti shangwe. And even though COVID-19 ilikuwa bado ina spread, ilibidi president ainue lockdown kiasi ndio angalau watu warudi hustle zao, economy irudi form. Nilibambika mbaya sana kurudi shughuli zangu za kawaida, lakini kwanza nikavutia nyanya anaishi Kisumu. Nikamshow niko njiani na come kuvisit. Mimi huyo kupanga safari the next day. Alafu boys wangu hapo akadai simuachi hata na dawa. Ikabidi tumeendanisha. Vile tulifika, nashangaa kupatana na nyanya akiwa na kifagio. Eri hata singeuliza ni ya nini. Juu nilionyeshwa nikifukuzwa nayo, ndio ni maintain social distance ya 1 meter. Hiyo broom ndio amekuwa akitumia kupima space katikati yake na mtu yeyote anajaribu kumkaribia. Social distancing ni muhimu sana kwake. Juu watu wa miaka yake wako vulnerable zaidi to COVID-19. Alafu akaniuliza kama nimebeba sanitizer na mask kwa shopping yangu. Vile nilidaizi, alinitimua mbio haikai ingine niende madukani nilete mask na sanitizer. Hiyo mbio siwezi sahau hadi wa leo.
Welcome back. The show is Between the Lines. I'm your host Karanja Jackson. In studio today we have Shiko Kihika, who is helping us understand what can the youth do in trying to keep the government accountable. Keep sending in your comments. Allow me to sample some that we got when we had taken the breather. We had another one from Vincent Muniu Kirugumi wa Mwaniki. And he says that this is a very important discussion and actually should not end here. Big up Nakuru TV and Shiko Kihika. Let's talk about these other spaces that you were telling us that we can use. Your organization is using caricature and art in trying to have this voice heard. What about this, the Monanchi down there? These young men that maybe may not have maybe the platform like you have. How can he or she have his or her word, her voice heard?
So I think this is one thing I keep telling people. Platforms are created, see, right now, things that are happening online, if something is happening on Facebook, somehow, for some reason, my mom will know about it. What does this tell me? It tells me information is traveling very fast. And it tells me that we have a key tool that we can never underrate. That is the digital platforms. At any rate, may it be push SMSs, may it be WhatsApp, may it be Facebook, however we want to look at it, this is a space that we cannot underrate. So what we need to do is break down this information for everybody to understand. If I want this information targeted to a grandma back in Rumuruti, how do I put it in a language that they understand? And how do I send them via SMS? That is something we need to look at. But we can also try and see, I was looking at innovative ways of communicating, and as we are going, and I was thinking of our mamambogas back in the village and stuff. How do we make sure they get such animations? How do we make sure they get the infographics that break down how their money is being stolen? And I was saying it's simple. Just go look at their kibanda. How much is it worth? Maybe 2,000, maybe 3,000 shillings. Just break that down for them. Tell them the government is stealing billions. Yet, your kibanda cannot expand beyond 200 shillings. Let them relate to this information. Let them understand that the money they pay as tax from the 200 bob they earn every day is the money that is being stolen by some people in government. It's that simple. And we need to stop sugarcoating it. You see, we like using heavy words. We want to call stealing looting, so that someone who doesn't know English will not understand what this is. Mwizi ni mwizi. Can we just put it as that? Like there's no difference of a thug mwenye anakuja kwako anaiba nguo kwa kamba na mwizi mwenye anaiba pesa yako. See, the same way we treat those thugs who come anaruka kwako anaiba kuku is the same way we should treat these thugs in suits. Like, being that you wear a suit doesn't make you a pretty thief. So can we just start addressing it that way? Can we just look at it from that angle of information, let it get to that youth man pale kwa mtaa in the way it is. Umse ni mwizi anakuibia, full stop, ndio maana una rent. Let us start relating, because the time we will humanize taxes is the time we will start seeing reactions and actions. Because we've never humanized taxes. We make it look like isn't za kina Chris Kirubi ndio wako na pesa ya kulipa tax. Ndugu, whether you like it or not, taxes you pay. We are getting to a point where by now we are being taxed for trying to create jobs online by the same government that has failed to provide jobs for the young people. So young people, though, this is a platform we can actually try and make money out of. Now you're going to be taxed for it.
The government came out and said, and this is a sentiment that has been mentioned severally, and actually yesterday when the president was addressing somewhere, he said that that youths wanafaa wajue how si mpango wa kando au ni mpango wa ndani, that this government is working to help the youths, and he actually took a lot of he mentioned the kazi kwa mtaani that is helping thousands of youths around the republic.
Can I help him understand why we are literally more than mpango wa kando? We are worse than mpango wa kando. At least mpango wa kando gets some bits of things here and there. The youth is excluded. Why am I saying this? The jobs that are left for the youth, kazi mtaani, as he takes pride in, ni kazi za kuchimba mitaro, kuchimba choo, and such. Why do we reduce the youth to those odd jobs? Who said the youth don't have skills that are enough to sit in an office and make things run?
The debate, and actually this one came up somewhere we were discussing about the debate about that kazi mtaani, and graduates that are working there, people that have papers to as high as bachelors, even masters,
and PhDs, or somewhere digging those tunnels,
and making quite something out of it. Do we just say at least wanapata kitu?
5 so Uhuru anaiba pesa ngapi kwa siku? Can we just be realistic? Can we just sit down and say, when people are fighting for big hotels that are worth billions of land that they've stolen from Kenyans, then you tell me someone whose parents have sweat, even slept hungry to make sure this person has gone through our messed up school system, comes out with all his papers, then you tell them, tosheka na hii kidogo umepata unaweza chimba mtaro. See, then what was the need for this person to go to school? Can we just stop settling for nothing? Can we stop settling for, and I'm sorry to use this word, please forgive me, bullshit? Can we just stop? Because the moment we understand our value is the moment we need to say, you know what, stop it. Give us real jobs. For how long will they dig iso drainage systems? How sustainable are these jobs? The same jobs people are working for 1 week and then you're told this cycle stops here, you wait for your pay, we get a new cycle.
For those who are watching, it's Shiko Kihika in studio.
I already
All
asked for
opinions
forgiveness.
and comments are strictly by the guest and do not reflect the position of Nakuru TV. Anyway.
But I've asked for forgiveness before I said it. I'm a good Christian. So.
Okay. Now let's talk about your organization and the pandemic. What is the organization doing?
A lot of sensitization, we love sensitizing people. It's amazing making people aware of how much is being stolen from their pockets. But we are also taking a role in trying to inform people of the actual space of what COVID is and what it means to the people. So if you see some of the videos that we've shared with you, there are some that are talking about how COVID is spreading, and there are also some that are talking about what do we call it? The expenditure and how the government has spent money and how much donations we are good people. We love donations. So it's always amazing to show people how people are donating to us. Tenda mema naongea kuhusu mema ambayo ametendwa kwako. So we are talking about the good things and the good deeds that people are doing for us. But most of all, we are highlighting stories of young people in different areas who are doing something good. Because it's weird. We live in a country where we expect neighbor yako akupe chakula afanye nini. Yet this is the role of the government. But then we need to amplify these stories and see how amazing people are doing amazing deeds back in the villages, in the estates, and just trying to survive during this pandemic, because we understand times are hard, and we also understand that there's something that people are not talking about, the spirit of togetherness when people come together and the magic that happens when that happens. So Tribeless Youth is trying to bring these 3 approaches out, where we're talking about transparency and accountability, but we're also talking about why you people need to wash your hands even if there's no food, and why people need to also highlight stories of young people who are doing amazing deeds back in the grassroots.
Yeah. And it's quite commendable, because you look at this pandemic and what it's doing to countries, even developed countries.
First world countries are now third worlds like us. What is life? Jesus. It took a pandemic to bring US to a third world state. So,
one vital comment from Munio again says, we should be asking for kitu bora, not bora kitu.
And exactly. Why do we settle for? It's like, let me give you an example. You remember when we were kids, when we were growing up, we used to tell our parents, unilete kitu ukikuja, and then akuletea sweet ya bob. But juni kitu, you won't complain. Yeah, you just say thank you and move on. Yeah. As you grew up, you realized, what if my parents, instead of bringing me sweets, taught me how to save? You understand? What if my parents bought me something extra than just a sweet? So it's what the government is doing. Our government is like a rat. You know the way panya uma ikipuliza. So they're stealing from you, but still soothing you that we're giving you jobs. So chill. We are here. But we are forgetting what they promised us when they were coming into power. We are forgetting the 1.6 million jobs that were supposed to be given. Oh, it's actually 2 million jobs that were supposed to be given to young people annually. So do we count Kazi Mtaani as a sustainable job?
And it's
expensive. You people remember Uhuru said once that mkate ni 500 bob. I actually love that statement, because it's 500 bob right now. Ununue sukuma, ununue unga, literally it's done. So 500 bob unalipwa na utapata hii pesa maybe mwisho wa mwezi, and some people are saying they're being paid 90 shillings. Utapata hii pesa mwisho wa mwezi. So how do you survive? People have young families. How do they survive? So it's a thing we need to think about. What do we settle for? What is our value?
And actually, that is especially that word.
Yeah.
What's your value?
Yeah.
What's your value? Leonard Githai says, I like it that Shiko realizes that the youth are excluded. Are the others youth still thinking that they are marginalized, or what do they think? That's something to think about.
Githai, let me tell you, on behalf of the youth, I speak as their mother here. We realize that we've been left out, and we acknowledge that. So we are working towards getting to the table, and it might not be nice.
Mwalimu Mushemi Gutu is watching us from Barnabas. The show is Between the Lines. in studio today we have the fiery Shiko Kihika, who is helping us discuss how the youth can be helped, how the youth can help in keeping the government accountable and in check. Shiko Kihika is the founder and executive director of Tribeless Youth. We'll take another small breather and we'll be right back. We wind up the discussion.
Wewe kijana kuja hapa umetoka wapi? Unaenda wapi? Saini za ngapi? Kwa nini na kivipi? Hebu eleza mara moja. Kuja huyu sio madha, kuja hapa.
Officer, mimi ni mtu wa chemist, naenda nyumbani. Hata niko na barua ya essential services.
Ati chemist?
Si unajua serikali ilisema sisi tuko na ruhusa ya kuchelewa kidogo.
Ati serikali ilisema aje? Wewe unasemeanga serikali? Wewe ndio government spokesman. Makosa ya kwanza, impersonation of the government spokesman.
Officer, hata wewe unajua hii curfew imewekwa kupunguza maambukizi, si kudhulumu wananchi.
Imewekwa kudhulumu polisi, si ndio?
Hapana, polisi ndio wanaitumia vibaya.
Sasa unanisomea? Yaani umeacha kusemea serikali, sasa unasomea serikali. You are reading to the government. Hiyo ndio makosa ya ngapi?
Si hivyo officer. Alafu, kwanza wewe mbona hujavaa mask? Si unajua hata nyinyi maafisa wa polisi mnajiweka at risk ya kuambukizwa COVID, Kwa nini humvai mask?
Sasa unauliza serikali maswali tena. You are interrogating the government. Makosa ya ngapi? 3. Tuache mambo mingi kijana. Kwanza nyinyi mmepewa pesa ya COVID allowance. Sisi hata hatujapewa, hata roadblock zilifunguliwa. Cheza kama wewe.
Ati nini?
Leta ile unaleta kijana na uende kule unaendanga.
Sina pesa officer.
Boss, unaongeza makosa chia ingine. Ujue sisi ni nani bana? I can take you to quarantine anytime bila makosa yote. I can take you anywhere I want. Saizi hakuna katiba, tumesuspend everything. Sisi ni nani? We have powers. Sisi ndio Kenya police.
Unajua kutembea bila pesa ni murder case. Unataka kuwa serikali na njaa?
Hebu Thomas nikuone kinyangarika hii.
Utasemea mambo yote mbele. Kuja haraka, tembea. Kanyaga kubwa twende.
Alafu ofisa unajua ufai kunikaribia hivi na hata una mask. Unajuaje kama niko na COVID?
Unaishiki witi kwa mimi, twende wewe.
Kwani mtu yuko na corona? Unataka kuwa mimi na corona? Toka hapa shetani wewe, manslaughter wewe, attempted murder COVID-19.
Welcome back. We are discussing the role that the youth can play in keeping the government accountable. In studio we have Shiko, who is helping us discuss what the youths should and are doing in regards to this. Now, Shiko, in 16 days, we celebrate 10 years since we promulgated the Constitution.
Yeah. You and who? They did.
But we are Kenyans. We should celebrate. It was a milestone. It's a
milestone to what? But what are we celebrating? A book or the actions?
I had not prepared for that question. but okay, in 16 days the Constitution of Kenya is 10 years old. Should we throw a cake for it, or
no? We should demonstrate and kick off the political class, can we? Because we have 10 years, 10 good years. But I see the Constitution and I look at it and I'm sad. I'm sad because one, I was not there when they were voting in the Constitution.
You are not.
I was still.
You were not in that side. No, I voted.
No, I
did.
So you're among the people who we should be questioning right now. But I came to read the constitution that was passed on my behalf because I was still young, and understand it. And I see the beauty of it. And I keep telling young people, read chapter 1, read chapter 4, the Bill of Rights specifically, read Article 55, read Article 42. Understand that first. Because people tell me it's boring. Trust me, it's boring. It's not a joke. But read what is of interest to you. Then read more about the leadership in the Constitution. Then from there, we can now start talking about the joy of having a Constitution. Because for me, where we are at, we have lived in a nation that keeps defiling the Constitution. Our Constitution is still a baby. It's 10 years now. We keep defiling and redefiling it and again. And then we look back and tell ourselves we need to celebrate 10 years of the Constitution. How? Why? What are we celebrating? It actually needs to be a very sad day for this country, knowing that even the executive itself does not respect this book. It has been rendered useless again and again. Just the way we rendered our flag useless. Just the way we rendered our national anthem useless.
And I'm thinking, now looking at the Constitution as it is, and the various chapters that are there, the Constitution came with several provisions, things like devolution. And 10 years later, I think
we devolved thuggery, stealing.
We devolved services. We devolved services.
Stealing services.
We devolved services from the main capital to the small counties down here. Don't you think that there is some pride?
No. Instead, we devolved thieves. If I want to get certain services, I have to still go to Nairobi. You get? How many young people are running away from Nakuru every day going to Nairobi to look for opportunities? How is devolution working for them? If we were to work with devolution, why do we still have the regional commissioners in the counties? Which devolution was this? It's not the one in the Constitution. So we devolved monies, but monies for political class, not for the people. The money still does not stream down to those who need the money. I am sad every time that counties are given money and money has to go back to the treasury. Yet in the same county we don't have drainages. Yet in the same county young people don't have jobs. Yet in the same counties we have street kids everywhere. It doesn't make sense to me. In the same county we do not have even enough public toilets in town. So how do you tell me that money goes back to the treasury? Is it that we don't have people who can use this money? Or is it that we are okay? We feel comfortable in the state that we are in. It's in the same county that takes back money to treasury that people are being swept by water every day. So how do we say that we're supposed to be celebrating these milestones? The city itself is not a city anymore. It's a confused city. We do not know who's in charge. We now don't even have a speaker. I just don't know what is happening to this country. Maybe we just need to ask ourselves questions and ask ourselves, what did we want to achieve with devolution? We are Rangers, and this is something I keep saying. We are a country that is very beautiful on paper. We love good papers. We love good policies. We love good laws. But we do not know how to implement them, unfortunately. And it's not like we do not know. We do not want to implement them. Because the people who should be implementing them are benefiting from not implementing them. So, yeah.
So 16 days away. Now, let's go to your Twitter page that at times bans, at times. There's always fires.
Disclaimer, anything said.
Anything said. Again, for those who are joining us right now, our guest today is Wanjiku Kihika. We want to pass a disclaimer.
Anything said on that platform depends on the mood that I woke up in.
And anything she says today on show is based on her own experience and does not reflect the view of our station Nakuru TV. Now let's look at your Twitter page for a minute. Recently, you shared a tweet and you said that we need to stop praying for problems that require positive action.
Yeah.
Poverty is a political problem.
Exactly. I am tired of our church structures. Let me just say this here. And I'm sorry, I'm born from a Christian family by a mom who loves church and serves at church. But I am tired of this lie that, and I'm going to give you an example. If I had a house help, yeah, and I know her house is being closed because of some arrears that she has, then I come and tell you, can we pray for my house help? She's going through this and this. Will money fall from heaven to her plate? It does not work like that. People need to realize that there are some things that even prayers won't solve. We go to church and we are told, pray for our leaders, pray for God to give them wisdom. But yes, it's okay, as God gives them wisdom, can they return our money? Can we make them return our money? And as we pray for God to help them and lead them as they lead the country, can we also make them not steal from us? Because prayers won't make them stop stealing. So we need to actually, that is a statement that I take pride in, because I think I quoted the pastor who said that. It's a pastor from Nigeria who said that. And the pastor said that as Africans, we were lied to that the church will solve everything by prayers. The church has thousands and thousands of people. Why can't the church mobilize these people to decide our money is being stolen? Let us go and protest against this. Because the church is where the political class uses to clean their money. So we need to stop and we need to start looking for realistic solutions to our problems. If I'm sleeping hungry, it's a political problem. I am sleeping hungry because the systems that have been created by the political class cannot allow me to find for myself. If I cannot access healthcare services, it's a political problem. This is not God. God does not punish people. If I am here and I cannot afford school fees, it's because the system does not allow me to do it. It's a political problem that requires a radical political solution.
And what are these radical solutions?
Why do you want to put me on fire?
No,
just say
I'm just using the words.
No, but
Okay,
if I say radical solutions, can be through the ballot, can be through impeaching people, can be through the courts. Can be through the streets too.
I will not add anything about. We have seen how impeachment goes.
It depends with who is impeaching who. When thugs are impeaching their fellow thug, it's messed up. When sober people are impeaching thugs, it's business.
It's business.
Yeah.
Another thing that has actually caught my eye looking over your page was something that you have mentioned severally now about the raping of men.
Yeah.
And you said that it is high time that we started having this discussion.
A genuine conversation about it. This makes me sad, I think, because I think in my day-to-day I'm surrounded by so many men that I know. But I also understand that we do not talk about sexual gender-based violence in terms of the masculine gender. I've seen stories of men who've been raped, gang raped for that matter, by their fellow men. But we do not talk about it. I saw someone saying from the same point that a man should enjoy being raped. I do not know how sane that is. But what I know is that we need to start having conversations about gender-based violence against men. We live in a country that has made a violence about only women. And I'm a woman and I acknowledge we've been marginalized, we've been left out, we've been done all these things. But let us also acknowledge that the other gender on this other end is being defiled. And we need to talk about it. There are so many young boys that are being sodomized every day. Who's talking about it? As we talk about young teen pregnancies, can we also talk about those young boys who are being sodomized? can we look for a problem, a solution to these problems as one, because there is no gender that is higher than the other. So I think this is something that really touched on my nerve, because when a man stands and says, I'm a single father and I was gang raped and I don't even have a job, I don't even have a house, the next thing I think is that the society look at this man as irresponsible, not that he needs help. So can we start humanizing these struggles that are gone through by men?
Okay. A comment from our different platforms. Faith Como says that she's watching the show and she likes it. She also says that is knowing my rights all that it takes to get justice?
No. It takes more than knowing your rights.
It takes more than knowing.
Yeah, it takes you having people who understand what you're going through. Because no matter how much you know about your rights, if they want to arrest you, they will still arrest you. So, but can we develop, and I keep telling people, if you're arrested today and you know you're not on the wrong, why do you give bribes? Can you just allow them to take you through the process? So that we see then what they will charge you with. So that we see what the fight will look like. And unless we get to that point, then I am a believer that we will never sort the injustices that are there. Baby Pendo was shot. The parents are still seeking justice to date. The parents know their rights now, but is it helping? So it's a systematic and structural problem.
So right now, as we're seated here, some unknown youths are currently vandalizing a county government project under the trade department undertaken by the previous regime. The kiosks were actually built in 2015-2016 financial year. They're located near Zakaios in Rescos. That's where you live. You know those who are vandalizing, or you know the kiosks?
I know the kiosks. That's not a government project. That was an MCA's project. Those kiosks need to leave that space, because that's a drainage system covered by kiosks. They've not been serving anyone for the last 2-3 years now. This was an MCA project because he wanted to be re-elected. Unfortunately, he was not. And these then blocked the drainage systems. So I am proud of those people who are removing the kiosks right now. Those are people acting on behalf of the citizens.
But wasn't the money paid by taxpayer?
It was paid by taxpayers, but for what? Chukueni hizo mabati mkajenge vibanda kwingine mfanyie kazi. You see, let me tell you one thing. It's taxpayers' money, but already misused. Wakajenga vibanda ambazo hazitumiki. These kiosks have been used again and again for people. Wanitangwa aje these pickpockets. They hide there at night. Those who live around that area can tell you that. These kiosks or whatever have been, some of them have been turned into toilets. So how healthy is that? How okay is that? I remember the women who have vibandas there asked again and again, if we are not being given these kiosks, can they be removed? Because they're doing more bad than good. Is this what I'm not sure who has paid those young men and women. But what I'm saying is that whether it's a political war or anything, it is high time those kiosks leave that place. Yeah.
As we're wrapping up, you have read Sikunjema, and one of the characters in Sikunjema actually says that okay, before we go to Sikunjema, I'm just trying to digest what you have told me. Don't you think now that is double speaking?
Nope. I have said positive action.
But you're calling for accountability.
I've said positive action. For 2 years, there was no accountability on those funds. The MCA is gone. The current MCA doesn't care much about that place. Hizo mabati kama zinaweza saidia vijana kujenga vibanda at a viable place, let them pick them. It's my money. It was used for that. Do you have another question?
I still think, but I'm persuaded to think. Wasn't that like a wastage of taxpayers' money?
But it's already wastage. How are they being used? Do you rather have a kiosk set up somewhere not serving anyone and say my money was used wisely? So whether you like it or not, money was misused 2 years ago. And if there's anyone to hold accountable, should be the former MCA. should be asked, what were they for? Who are they meant to serve? Which money did you use? And the fact that we don't even ask ourselves why MCAs and MPs hold money is a problem by itself. It's not their role to implement anything. They do not deserve to be handling money.
Should we seek court?
Which courts?
Like we go and we seek now, we ask for a case to be
reopened.
Yes,
yeah, we
on
should.
the same.
We should.
It's something that
Why
we should
not?
consider.
Why not?
Because
this is your money. If you feel pinched that my money was wasted, then don't feel pinched when these youth are trying to say this thing is doing more bad than good to the people here. You get? This is what I'm calling positive action. Why? If removing this will save the people of this area the crimes that have been there, why not? But then if removing this, if this kiosk were useful to anyone, I will proudly say this is wrong. Don't do it. But this kiosks have been there for 2 years. 2 years, no one is using them. For 2 years, the much that has been done, I know the last 2 kiosks have been turned into toilets by the Boda guys. The others, I know there were cases where some young boys used to hide there at night and target people who are coming from jobs and everything. Because I don't think that street has lights. I don't think in Mewekwa it doesn't have lights. Street lights, that's for that matter. So if these injustices are what are being brought by having these empty kiosks here, why do we need them? Maybe the question we should be asking is, who are these young men and who sent them? And what is the motive behind it?
very nice. Final comment. Faith also says that I also agree that the church needs to play a role in this. The church needs to stand its ground and rebuke negative political involvement. #Nisisi, a Kenyan movie. Siku Njema. You've said you've read the book. The lead character in the book, Kongoya Mswahili, once said that siku njema yake is when people will not be sick. There will be no thuggery. It will just be a siku njema. And then there was also a counter to that, another one who said siku njema yake is when we'll have enough hospitals for people, enough good police for what is your siku njema?
My siku njema is when we'll have an accountable government. My siku njema is when we will have managers instead of political class as governors and presidents. My siku njema is the day we will have enough health facilities and affordable healthcare services for the people. My siku njema is when we will have structures that work for the people.
Structures that work for the people. Thank you very much, Shiko, for finding time to come to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu tena na tena na tena. A society that does not tap into the zeal, energy of the youth is a society that gets left behind. Those were the words by former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan. It has been a week where we've been celebrating the different youths in different sectors. We looked at youths in agriculture, youths in business, youths in industrial. And today we've wrapped at looking at youths and how they can be involved in accountability of the government. Our guest today was Wanjiku Kihika, founder and executive director of Tribeless Youth. So until next time, it's Kwaheri from Between the Lines and stay safe.
Vile COVID-19 ililandi the 254, kila mtu aliingia panic mode. Ministry of Health ikapewa responsibility ya kuensure hii rona haijasambaa. Sema mabudgets nono kuwekelewa, yani hadi CS wa health akakuwa celeb. Briefing zake za updates za COVID zikawacha kuwa maneno tu. Kuna hadi remix za mangoma. Unacheki vile COVID ilichapa kuchapa. Wadhamini wengi walidandia kusaidia. Donors kama IMF, World Bank, Jack Ma Foundation wote walichangia kwa COVID fund. Kuongezea, makampuni za Kenya pia zilichangia na hizo do zote zikawa zinamanajiwa na Ministry of Health. Lakini Kenya ni wapi? Pesa za raia kama kawa humezwa na kutumika vibaya bila huruma. Unaimagine mko katikati ya noma na corona, then unasikia kwa media vile do zote za kudeal na corona zinatumika vibaya. do zinafaa kuwa zinasaidia watu, zinamezwa tu na njia zieleweki. Lakini hebu tujiulize kama Wakenya, tutaendelea kusafa hadi lini juu ya watu tu wachache wenye hawana utu? Wanajibenefit wenyewe time kama hii na watu wanaumia. Lazima tustopishe hizi injustices. Sisi wote tuko at risk. Hii ugonjwa haibagui. Hatufai kukubali watu wachache waibie raia. Kwanza pesa inafaa kutumika kutuokoa sisi wote from hii janga ya corona. Lazima tuungane na tudai accountability. Viongozi wetu wanafaa wajue, tukasema tunadai transparency, haimaanishi waongeze saizi ya dirisha za ofisi zao ndio tuwaone zaidi tukiwa nje. Inamaanisha wakuwe open na accountable to raia on vile wanatumia ushuru tunalipa na jasho yetu. Na wale watashindwa ku account vile wanatumia hawafai kukalia ofisi ya raia tena ever.